Welcome to Ascend to Earth, a podcast for seekers, visionaries, and changemakers, bridging the spiritual and the earthly. Hosted by Virginia Underwood and Hannah Pearl, we explore deep healing, conscious living, and embodied wisdom, helping you rise into your highest self while staying rooted in purpose. So awkward every time we start.
I know. I don't know what that is. We can just be like talking up a storm for,
Hours.
and then the record button, and it's like, hi. Now all of a sudden it's weird.
Yeah, because it's not just us in the conversation. There are more people that might be listening to this.
Yeah. Well, welcome to this conversation.
Welcome, welcome
Welcome,
to
welcome, welcome, welcome.
welcome to our wild and wacky conversation.
Yeah. We were just talking about uncertainty
And
and
grief.
grief and being a human.
And this idea that the older you get, the more your life should be put together, or the more things you should accumulate, and that equates to success,
Mhm.
and how not true that is.
Yeah.
And like I was just telling you how, when I was in my 30s and early 40s, from the outside appearances, I looked really successful. I had a high level job, I had a great income, I lived in a great neighborhood, had a fancy car, went on vacations in tropical places, did all these things, yet I felt so completely disconnected from myself, from my emotions. I was triggered constantly, always in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
Mhm.
And now I decided well, after the fire in 2018, I went back to work for somebody in 2019, and by 2020 I knew that I could not be in corporate environments anymore. I could not put on the masks. I couldn't, like, the fire was kind of the Pandora's box that the lid came off and I couldn't put anything back in. Fortunately, this job that I had, I didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't have to deal with other humans. I just did this job that allowed me to, be in my own energy all day. And all of these traumas and hurts and, all of it just came up. And now I've flipped my entire life upside down. I left my stable relationship. I left my stable job. I gave and sold everything away. I'm I have done massive amounts of healing work. I mean, I was already doing it before, but it was definitely not the depth that I have gone to in the last 5 years. And so now I'm in this place where I am so much more emotionally regulated, so much more grounded in my body, and I'm no longer abandoning myself in these really intense emotional experiences. Yet, from outward appearances, it looks like I'm, and our Western standards, it looks like I'm completely failing.
Yeah.
And as intense and uncomfortable as I am in this state, and talking about it like I am right now, I would not go back to the old life, the old dysregulation, it led me to massive illness, and talk about discomfort. My whole body always felt like it was on fire, and I was shaking constantly and couldn't regulate my temperature and could barely put a sentence together half the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel, even in this, like 5 years ago, I would never have been able to sit here with you feeling the amount of grief that I'm feeling for all the changes that are happening in my life this year, this past year, this year of the snake and shedding all these skins. There's no way I could have done this and been
Mm-mm.
as, you know,
Vulnerable?
um, vulnerable or coherent
Yeah,
in the way that I'm communicating.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I can see that. I think that is a statement of the amount of growth that you have gone through. And, you know, that our success shouldn't be measured in how much stuff that we have or the physical accomplishments that we've made. I know plenty of people that have made a ton of physical accomplishments and still feel empty and like something's missing in their life. So, is that really what it's about? Is that really what we should be striving for? It was like I watched a video the other day, right, of that, and I sent it to you, but it was that woman who, in, it was like a series of videos, and in 2021 she had this video of her talking about how she was like crying because she just got this corporate job, and she did it because she let her anxiety win, her fear of not having enough. So she got this corporate job for this company that she hates and all this stuff. She stayed there. I don't know how long she stayed there, but the next video was her the following year saying that she quit and that she doesn't know if this is going to work out, but she 100% knows that it's the right decision. And that piece feels important. Like, I don't know if it's going to work, but I know this feels right. And then the next video was her talking about how she lost her mom and she lost her boyfriend, and she thinks she's going to lose her apartment because she's spent all this money, like putting all of her money into creating, like her dream is to be a filmmaker. So she's putting all of her money into making films and not thinking so much about paying rent. So she's like lost all this shit. And then the next video, it was like a year, 2 years later, something like that. She's getting an award for the best film of whatever. She's on the red carpet. She's doing her thing. You know, She didn't give up on herself. She didn't give up on her dream. And she kept saying that she knew that it was the right thing to do, even when everything seemed like it was falling apart, even when she didn't feel like she had anything. And that keeps coming up in my mind over and over again because there's so many ways in my life right now where I feel like I'm on the right track, but on the outside, looking in, it feels like I'm fucking crazy. And it doesn't feel like anything is working because I'm not seeing a physical um, reflection of that, of like what I feel on the inside and what I think that should look like on the outside, and it doesn't look like that. So then if I base it off of that, then I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm crazy. I feel like all the things. But when I go on in the inside, I know that I'm on the right track. I know that I need to keep following this. And it's this, I mean, fuck, it's the same story over and over. How many times have you heard the story? Someone struggles, and then they keep going, and they don't give up on themselves, and they do whatever they have to keep going because they have a vision, because they have a dream. And they keep working towards the dream, and then at some point, the dream comes alive. And I just keep seeing that part. So, I'm going to ask you, what's your dream?
Well, you know my dream because we've been dreaming this dream for how many years now? Like 15? When we would sit in my office in that mm, that comfortable life that we had.
Mhm.
My dream is to live in a more harmonious world, one that feels supportive and feels people centered. My dream is to have a physical place where people can come. They can live there if they want. They can come for different classes or services. They can come to learn how to be a good steward of their life and this earth. My dream is to travel around the world and to teach people how to regulate their emotions as I sit and cry.
Because that is regulation. Regulation isn't holding back your emotions, it's being able to feel them and move through that state fluidly and hold yourself in it. That is regulation.
And I feel with every ounce of my being, like you said, I am on the right track. I know it. I know it with everything that I have. But I can't see. And that's always something that I have felt a measure of, I guess, pride in, is my ability to see, to be a visionary. So, not being able to see even sometimes what feels like the next step feels really hard, really challenging when the universe is saying, just trust, just keep
Hmm.
going. When my account's overdraft and I don't know how I'm going to get down the road to pick up a check that's owed to me, at least there's a check there.
Yeah, you have the check, you can fill up your gas tank and pay your overdraft. Doesn't matter the timeline of events, it's like it's there.
Yes, that is true. And being someone who has always valued being in integrity, being truthful, being um, taking care of my responsibilities. It feels really uncomfortable to be in a state where, you know,
You have to
I
ask for
can't,
help.
yeah.
Well, sometimes asking for help is the most integral and authentic thing that you can do.
And I've been learning how to ask for help over these last couple of years. And in some regards, it's gotten a bit easier, but in others, it feels harder because I feel more indebted.
Mm.
Yet, I don't think about all of the things that I do for other people that are quite valuable that I don't ever ask for anything in return.
Mhm. Yeah, and if somebody wants something in return, then they can tell you that they're expecting something in return, and if they don't, that's on them. Still not your shit to hold on to, because we all need to be more clear about our expectations and our boundaries. And if we're not holding that up for ourselves to say, hey, this is where I'm at and this is what feels safe to me, nobody can do that for you. You have to be an advocate for yourself. So if someone's giving to you and saying, I don't expect anything in return, I want to help you, then you can receive that for what it is without feeling bad about not giving them anything.
Hey,
It might just be they might not give a fuck. They might actually genuinely want to help you without anything in return because they have more.
yes, and I have experienced that. I have a situation that I'm in right now where I have some friends who are helping me in a huge way. And when I ask them, how can I give back? They tell me, please don't. We have enough. Pay it forward.
Mhm.
And that feels really good, and it inspires me to help other people.
Sounds like a physical space where you can have people come and stay and feel safe, and isn't that interesting? It's almost like your dream is already a reality.
In so many ways, it is. Because I'm
Yeah,
already teaching people how to emotionally regulate.
what better way to do that than be thrown into the fire? I know, I was like sitting there talking about my dream yesterday, which was I mean, it runs very parallel to what you're saying, but also like being able to hold people through uncertainty. And what's my life been up until this point? But very uncertain. So it's like, oh, that's very fitting. I mean,
Right?
how else are you going to help people unless you have gone through it yourself? Because you really felt that. Like, how do I know how to hold you when things are uncertain if I don't know what
Exactly.
it's like to be uncertain? If I
Hmm.
don't know what I need when I feel that way?
And you don't know how to hold yourself.
Right. And I deserve that. And everybody deserves that. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know tomorrow today. We don't know how the rest of today is going to go. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know the state of the world. We don't know there's not actually anything to truly measure that.
Mm.
So why give your power away to these stories and these ideas outside of you that are telling you that the world is crumbling? How many times have you heard the world is crumbling? How many times have you heard that it's on the verge of doomsday? How many times have have the collective freaked the fuck out because of X, Y, and Z? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it's not warranted or that people shouldn't like feel feelings about, or that pain and suffering aren't real or that death isn't real. That shit's really real. And how do you hold yourself in it? How do you hold each other in it? Do you contribute to the fear? Do you hype it up more? Do you panic? Do make you like jump in and like that it's like I was thinking about this the other day about well, I had an experience on an airplane on the way to Peru where there was a man and I could tell that like I could feel he was in the row next to me. I could feel that he was really nervous about getting on this airplane. And he was just like shaking and looking around and like he was making me nervous because I was just watching him like just be super nervous. He's taking a bunch of pills. He finally passes out. But I was thinking about the nervous system state and how we're all speaking to each other through our nervous systems and how like it's how we survive. It's how we've learned how to survive. It's the herd mentality. It's when one's in danger, it alerts the rest of us that there's something going on without needing to say it out loud. We can feel it. So we're alerted. We get, his sympathetic state triggered mine, and it was just how easy it can happen, you know. You don't have to know exactly what's going on. Maybe he was nervous about something. Maybe it wasn't even about the plane. Either way, he was in a sympathetic state that, like, transferred over, and I felt myself get nervous and
Mm.
activated. So when there's a bunch of people around us that are nervous and activated about doomsday or the end of the world or what the fuck is going to happen, if we keep acting from that state, then we're just putting everyone around us in nervous sympathetic state because we're signaling that something is wrong.
Right. And isn't that kind of what's happening right now? I mean, look at
Mhm.
the situation that's happening or happened in Minnesota, and look at some of these other situations that have been unfolding over, you know, the last little while that are putting people in a very unsafe feeling in their nervous system, which whether you're in Minnesota or halfway across the world, it doesn't matter. You're still able to feel that because we're all connected.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
by allowing yourself to go down into the stories and the pain and the shame and the dysregulation and stay there, because obviously, as a human, you're going to feel all the feelings, and that's okay. But it's what we do with those feelings. So if we stay there, then we're just adding to that
If we stay
dysregulated
there,
state.
I was gonna say, if we stay there, that's dysregulation.
Right,
It's not feeling the feelings that's dysregulated. That's actually being regulated. But you staying in there for a long time is dysregulation because you are designed to move in and out of these states fluidly, not stay in one or the other for that's not normal.
right.
That's not
Immediate motion.
biologically normal. Like
Right,
so nature is always, snapping back and like coming back into harmony. And there is moments of chaos and whatever, but it doesn't stay there. It just happens and
well,
goes back to
yeah,
harmony.
chaos is part of the natural cycle. I mean, we see it in nature all the time. A tornado, a hurricane, a tsunami, like an earthquake. I mean, all of these states cause chaos. They disrupt the harmony in that environment, and they're not a bad thing. Like a fire in a forest is actually a really necessary thing. There are certain plants and trees that do not regenerate themselves unless there's massive heat applied to them.
Yeah,
You
like the
know,
ponderosa pine, those don't the seeds don't actually even open up until they reach a certain temperature.
right. So it's part of the cycle. And I just shared a video in this group that I'm in the other day, and there's a quote that I had found a while back that really, well, it said something to the effect of confusion creates chaos, and chaos creates opportunity.
Mhm.
So, that's how things change is we have to shake them up. We have to, if you are going on this one track and everything is fine, you're not going to do anything about it.
Right.
But if you're going on that track and something completely disrupts your life, you you have to make a change. Like if you're driving down the road and a tree falls down in the middle of the road, you're going to stop. And if the tree's big enough, then you're going to turn around and you're going to find a different way to get out of that situation.
Mhm.
Or you're going to cut up the tree and get it off the road and move on. Either way,
You're
it's
gonna make a different
disrupted your
choice.
flow,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, and you might not, you aren't gonna see the tree. That's not gonna be an expected outcome or possibility, but it's gonna make you look in a different direction. And it's gonna make you, and then you might be really grateful that you ended up looking in that direction because there was something that you didn't see before, and now you see it. And now you found a new way to get where you're going, and it's more beautiful or more fulfilling or more efficient, who knows? But the point is that it was necessary in order for you to get out of your one track and to open up to the possibilities. And there's so many possibilities.
Endless. I mean, we've talked about this concept before, like between linear numbers, right? One between the number 1 to the number 2 are infinite possibilities. Because as soon as you get into those decimal points,
It just keeps going on. And then
forever,
it's a fractal.
infinity
And then in between that's a fractal, and then it's a fractal and a fractal, and it just keeps fractaling off into infinite dimensions of possibility,
of possibility. Yeah.
which is chaos.
Yes.
Because what is chaos than something that is different than what you're experiencing?
Right. Well, and it reminds me of Uranus energy because Uranus is that great disruptor in astrology. And the sign, one of the symbols that I always associate with Uranus is the lightning bolt. And what does a lightning bolt do? It like strikes the ground. On a beach, it creates glass.
Mhm.
In a tree, it breaks the tree apart.
Set shit on
It's
fire.
right.
Mhm.
In a human,
Breaks.
it
Yeah.
completely disrupts the circuitry.
Mhm. Yeah, and it is a shock
Right,
to the system. It shakes shit up. It makes you look at things a little bit differently. It forces you to.
right. And that sounds like a really good time to have a regulated nervous system. Life's going to
Yeah.
bring you shocks, and can you sit in the energy of shock without it overtaking your body? Like I used to teach CPR and first aid, and the body going into shock is a very serious
Mhm.
thing, and people die from that. So, you know, learning how to regulate your
Can you
nervous
ride the
system,
wave?
yeah,
Mhm.
ride the
Do you
wave.
have the
Hmm.
capacity to hold the wave, to let the wave move through you instead of drown you or possess you or take to to drown you. It's learning how to surf because our experience we're in the ocean, we're out in the unknown, the big great ocean of consciousness.
Right.
Can you ride the wave? Can you trust your ability to surf? Because you've been surfing your whole life. So, if you put some conscious effort into it, I bet you can surf really well.
Yeah.
And
So, go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I was getting to something earlier about, you know, how the herd mentality, how we kind of spread the fear through our own nervous system state if we're not keeping it in check or not recognizing it. Uh, and how, when there's like actual physical danger, our body is capable of some really incredible things, right? Like that's mothers pulling cars off of their children and all kinds of crazy shit that we didn't know we were capable of. Now, you wouldn't normally, unless you're in a life or death kind of scenario like that, you wouldn't try to do those types of things because you might see that as dangerous or irrational, right? Like to try to lift a car up, like. So, if you think about being in a sympathetic state, a chronic sympathetic state, that you're going to make irrational decisions because you're in a state where you feel like something is harming you. So you're going to make some pretty crazy decisions that you normally wouldn't make in more of a rested state or more of a calm state or peaceful, whatever. So there's a bunch of people running around in chronic sympathetic states making a bunch of irrational decisions, and that if we're not careful, that wave can crush us all
Mm.
because we are all, if someone makes an irrational decision around you, what's that do to you? And then it just ripples, right? Um, and I think maybe my point in that is just, especially in these times where there's a lot of fear being spread, people are making irrational decisions, saying irrational things out of fear, which is causing more fear. And this is, if anything, a very important time to be present with yourself and with the feelings that are arising and your capacity to hold them and ride the wave. And then from that place, choosing how you move forward and choosing the wave that you want to send out.
Yeah. I watched a video the other day that was talking about people being silent through this time of distress in our nation and how that was violent, and then telling them what they should do in order to not be silent. And while I understand the point of the person who made the video and what they were saying in terms of silence being violent, that can be true. But also, that can add to that wave of instability because we're not coming from a regulated nervous system. We're coming from a place of dysregulation. So we are making choices that are irrational, which then leads to more violence.
Mhm.
So, kind of my response to that sort of mentality is if you're not if you're not feeling safe in your own body, then please don't go and add to the violence that is occurring. The best thing that you can do, and I'm not telling you what to do, but the best thing that I know to do and what I do is to breathe, to sit with myself in these big, intense feelings and not abandon myself, just sit in them. And it's really uncomfortable, especially when you first start, when you haven't sat with your grief, when you haven't sat with your fear and your shame and your doubt and, all of these big feelings that can feel extremely overwhelming. And our response is generally to distract ourselves from it, pick up the phone or the tablet and get on social media, play a game, whatever that looks like.
Well, and isn't what that video saying, is that not disassociating from your feelings in the first place? Because if you feel so intensely inside your body that you've got to go share and shame other people for not doing what you're doing, you're deflecting. You're not sitting with yourself in those feelings. You are finding someone else to blame and projecting your fear and your shame on other people, and then other people are then absorbing that, and then, whatever they do with it is whatever they do with it, but if they're not conscious of it, they can easily project more fear and shame into the world, and then it just keeps going and going and going.
Right. Yeah. So what's a tool that you use to help you stay present and regulate?
Well, awareness is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
If I am in the moment and yeah, I mean, it's taken me time to build awareness around that, but I can generally notice, like, that's one of the best skills I think in general to have is to keep heightening your awareness, like tuning your awareness to your body, no matter how long it takes. It's like that skill will carry you through your whole life because I can be in a moment and be aware of my breath being really shallow because I feel my chest moving really fast, or I feel it all like right here. And I feel, like almost like because of that I'm not getting enough oxygen to my brain. So I feel like there's like a plug there. And so then I start to feel tension in my temples. And then I feel my hands sweat. Or, like something like that. Some array of symptoms that I become aware of. And then because I'm becoming aware of it, there's not actually really anything that I have to do. The act of becoming aware of it in itself, it automatically shifts. And so then I just like, oh yeah, start to breathe a little bit deeper. And then breathing deeper, I feel my shoulders relax. I feel the tension leave my jaw. My temples open up. I feel more airflow coming through. I feel like, okay, I can be here. I'm not, and sometimes it's like looking around the room and feeling this blanket on me, like feeling the texture of it, feeling the sensation of my body against the couch, noticing the texture on the wall of the wood, or, smelling the smell of tea on the stove. Like, um, all of those things, all those sensory inputs can actually become an anchor to bring you back into this moment to show your nervous system that you're safe. So then, like, I can anchor myself through my senses back into the moment. And sometimes you just need to check in like that. When I notice that my heartbeat is going really fast or that I've like become activated, then I anchor myself back into the moment and go, "Oh yeah, no, actually I'm okay. I'm not actually in danger." And then from there, I can breathe deeper. I can take like it opens up a little bit and then I can make a different choice.
Yeah, that was actually the sense, grounding sense was something that I was going to talk about too. Um, but, you know, how do we build awareness? How do we become mindful of what is actually happening in our body?
Well, you tune in, you ask yourself, what's happening in my body? And you keep asking yourself that question over and over and over again. And eventually, the subtleties get deeper. You expand, you start to recognize the sensations. It's like asking Avery, asking my son what he's feeling in his body when he's having an emotion. It's building awareness. What does that
Mm-hmm.
feel like in your body when you're angry? And it might seem super elementary or whatever, but it's actually really profound to keep going back to that over and over again. It's
Yeah,
like, what, and it doesn't even have to be, like, maybe you don't even know what you're feeling. Like, you don't even have an emotion that you've attached to it. But you can just check in with yourself. How am I feeling right now? What am I feeling like in my body? You go to a different place. You talk to a different person. You ask yourself, what do I feel like in my body right now? And it might not be super, again, it might not be the super profound awareness, but it could just be as simple as like, I notice that I feel hot, or I notice that I'm sweating, or whatever.
right. There's a great meditation that I learned years ago that does not take very long, but it focuses on the sensations. It focuses on the eyes, and not like looking directly at one thing, but just being aware of the visual. Um, I
Field.
lost my words. Yeah, visual field. Or like with hearing, it's not about pinpointing a specific sound. It's being aware of all the sounds. The nose, it's not about smelling something specifically. It's about how does it feel to smell? Like, what are the sensations happening as you're breathing in? Do you feel a change in temperature? Is there a smell? Not to name it, but just to be aware that it's there. And you go through all the senses. You go into the inside of the mouth. You work with the breath. You work with the skin, and then eventually you bring your awareness outside of your body and feel the edges of your, you could say, aura,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Yeah.
just progressively getting in tune with the sensations and the all the stimuli that's coming in and how your body is feeling with it.
Yes. I think that's a good point to make about labeling, because as soon as we label something, we limit our experience of it. So,
That's true.
can we I like the act of going for a walk and looking at things, noticing when I label them, and questioning that, challenging that, like, you know, attempting not to label anything, and what that does and how that opens up. Like, there's an ever expanding experience that could be had with something when you stop trying to put a label on it. And so there's more information that we can gather
Right.
about what we're experiencing when we choose not to put a label on it and we just notice it. And that deepens your ability to be aware of what's going on within you and what you're seeing out there or feeling.
And just to kind of wrap this up, I wanted to um, share a story. I don't know if I can even articulate it correctly, and you and I have talked about this before. Um, there is a psychiatrist. He died, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, named David Hawkins. He has a beautiful body of work. He developed a system called the Map of Consciousness. Um, and in one of his lectures, he was talking about awareness and how awareness changes everything. And he gave the example of this man who was addicted to cookies. And this man was eating, 60, 70 cookies a day. And he asked Mr. Hawkins, Dr. Hawkins, um, how do I stop this? How do I end this addiction? And he said, I don't want you to do anything other than become aware of it. I want you to write down every day how many cookies you're eating. That's it. Just observe. Don't shame yourself for it. Don't, make up a story in your head about the cookies and how you need to stop. Just eat the cookies and write it down. And so the man started doing this, and at first nothing really changed. He was still eating 60, 70 cookies. But as the experiment kind of went on, what he noticed was that because he was not giving um, like this feeling towards eating the cookies, that the cookies stopped being so important. And he stopped eating the cookies. Eventually, he stopped eating all of them. So it's not what, I mean, it is what we do because we let go of the shame, we let go of the blame, and we just observe. And in that observation, because there isn't an emotional attachment to it, we're able to make a more neutral or life. affirming kind of decision rather than that dysregulated, you know, emotional attached decision.
Mm-hmm. It goes back to the concept of being nature and kind of what we were saying at the beginning of the call. And nature does this, it naturally, it,
Is nature
reg-
natural?
nature is naturally organic. It regulates. There's nothing that we have to do. It's because it's neutral that it regulates anytime something gets thrown off balance. Because there's an awareness and there's a conversation and there's not an attachment. We are nature. We just forgot. So if we just pay attention, it's like we lost trust in our body's innate ability to regulate. Like
Right.
we have to do anything to do that. And it's like, no, you actually, your body was designed, biologically designed to regulate, come back to a state of homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
That is your body's main function, is to come back to a state of homeostasis.
Right.
Get out of your own way. Stop,
So
like,
if we just allow the body to speak to us and take the steps, so for example, your body is telling you you're hungry. So we stop what we're doing and we take the steps to feed the body what it needs, and then we can go back to whatever else we were doing, or, like it doesn't have to be this big whole fiasco.
mhm,
um, but as you were talking, it reminded me of this passage in the Tao Te Ching that, and there are so many different translations, and I'm really great at messing up uh, quotes, paraphrasing them in my own way. Um, but it says something to the effect of the master does nothing, yet everything is done through them.
yeah, it's something like the master does nothing but accomplishes it all, or something like that, yeah.
Great. So to me, that's what we're saying is, our brain, our mind wants to say, oh, I have to do all of these things in order to be successful, in order to be a good human, in order to be loved and appreciated and accepted. Yet, if we just were present in our bodies and in this moment, then all of those things that we're looking for, the acceptance, the belonging, the love, etc., are going to be accomplished.
Mhm. It's looking at where they're coming from.
Right.
Is it coming from your mind? Coming from the empty space of the mind, which is actually all this? Or is it deeper? Is it coming from a sensation? What sensation? Where is the sensation? Like it's so much more than
Right.
that. And I feel like that's how we can make more aligned decisions, if you will, or more regulated decisions when we're just becoming aware of where it's coming from. In that way, you know exactly what you need to do.
Exactly. And I know exactly what we need to do right now.
Yes. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this episode and my emotional, uh, you know,
Your humanness.
yeah, there you go. My humanness.
Thanks for witnessing our humanness.
There you go. Yes. All right. We'll see you on the next one. Before we close, we'd like to share something that has been forming in the background of this conversation. This summer, we'll be gathering mid-June in Mount Shasta for an activation focused on grounding and centering yourself when the world feels chaotic. This work isn't about bypassing what's happening. It's about learning how to stay present and steady within it. We're also offering a free Telegram event on February 22nd to help those of you who are ready to root down now. We'll share more details soon. If you feel drawn to either, you can reach out to us at ascendtoearthpodcast@gmail.com. Listen to what's moving in you. We'll meet you there.